What is up, beautiful people? Back at it again for part 2 of the cosplay vlog. Yes. Okay, this should be the finishing touches, or finishing up from here. Shouldn't take so long, I hope. Again, this cosplay vlog is in a span of weeks, days, whatever, because during this time frame I was working a full-time job, so I had to break down each day to doing each thing and waiting for some things to cure and all that stuff. So this should be the final video, I'm hoping. If I do another video, it should be of me doing a get ready with me. So here's to that. Don't forget to go ahead and leave a like, so that way you guys are, well, no, I said that ass backwards. Don't forget to leave a like, because I know you're gonna like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That way you guys are always following in my shenanigans. And of course, don't forget to follow my other social media accounts. That way you guys are seeing what I'm up to, you see the final results and everything like that, the Instagram photos, all that stuff. So yeah, let's get down to it. So picking up from the previous video, I was able to go ahead and go out of town and find more fabric to use for both the hat and the cape itself. So with the pattern that I created in the last video, I was able to go ahead and basically lay out the pattern, cut it out, and of course pin it together. Now, again, this was only 4 pieces, so it wasn't much to actually sew. So it was a pretty quick process. Believe it or not, I find it that sewing the pieces together is very therapeutic, especially when your sewing machine actually just works so smoothly and so right. So this was really quick and easy. And just like a sock, I am basically just gonna go ahead and take the finished product and put it over the hat itself. Did I struggle with this? Surprisingly, no. All it was is just lining it up, and yeah, it fit pretty nicely. I did allow like 1 inch of a allowance for the seam allowance, yeah. But looking back at it, I was like, I could have probably just did ½ an inch and it would suffice. So this next step was just me pinning down the edge of the fabric to the hat, in which I'm gonna go ahead and reinforce it with some contact cement or cement glue, whatever the hell it's called. Pretty sure it's called contact cement. I did the same thing for the bottom portion of the hat. As you can see, I did already glue one side of the fabric onto the other side, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do the other one. But for future reference, I just highly recommend, like, you do the sock method. Just go ahead and sew the pieces together, and really all you need to do is just maybe cut out the middle piece. Hell, not even cut out the middle piece, just create a pattern for it. It would be so much easier and so much neater, especially since I thought, I wasn't going to see much on the underside of the hat. But with the finished product, I was like, oh, I messed up. So just take note for future reference. Okay, so now I get to connect the top and the bottom pieces together. Really, this was pretty much easy. I just slipped the top part over the hole, and the edge that was left over, all that excess edge that you see there, I went ahead and just put the glue on it and just basically put it together that way. I definitely noticed that hot glue works so much better than contact cement, because contact cement is really only good for fabric to EVA foam, not fabric to fabric. So with the leftover scrap pieces from the Yaya Han's EVA foam that I used to create the skeleton of the hat, see, your girl is a scrap queen. This is why I always have scraps left over from different projects, and it's just usually a hot mess. But I basically just used it to create like 3 pieces to create a long enough belt that will go around the hat. So I just glued them together, used the heat gun to warp it a bit, and then I went ahead and put on the Mod Podge to prime it because I'm actually painted it black. I actually ended up spray painting it black afterwards. So here's a little fun thing I want to show you guys what happens if you don't mix the correct solutions right. I wasn't paying attention because I was too busy watching YouTube videos, and I didn't see which measurements I put in. Like I wasn't keeping track of counting it. So the end result ended up with the resin become like flexy-like and obviously not done. So these two were basically just trash. Okay, but this piece came out fire. Like this last one was good, and once I put that clear nail polish on it, it was like, oh my god, this is so nice. So taking the clay that I have used before, this is actually how I create the gem casing. Just take a big clay, round it out with the palm of my hand, and then fit the gem into it. I did press it down to make sure that it was inside the clay, and then I took the excess of it around the edges and just started forming like a shape around it. Once I was happy with the framework, I went ahead and took the X-Acto knife and just basically cleaned up the edges a bit, took off the excess clay, and just made it a little bit more cleaner, neater around the edges. So real quick, this is actually how I just coat the gems into fingernail polish. Like I just basically put like a drop or two, just dump a little on there, and just basically paint it and coat it on there, just to get like a really good shine effect. And then afterwards, I take a heat gun and, you know, it dries it up quicker. Ta-da! Wow, great. Next, I can go ahead and put the finished gems onto the belt that I ordered off Amazon. Link, of course, will be in the description. And it turns out I only needed 5 instead of the 6 that I thought. So that's great. Okay, so now I'm using the contact cement glue and using the heat gun to basically make it more tacky. This is what I use to place it on the belt. Now later on I do go back and reinforce it with like an ass ton of hot glue. But that shit's heavy. The final piece for me to create was actually the cape. I used my Miss Martian cape as a reference of how I wanted to go ahead and create the length and the width. And as you can see here, this didn't cover me as much as I wanted to. So with the fabric that I did have left over, it was enough to go around me completely. So I just needed to take measurements, how short I wanted it at the end, and the collar itself. Using this Use in Shape interface, it helps create like the stiff collar. So all I did was basically measure out how long the collar was going to be wrapped around my neck, and then I cut out a square piece that was thick enough to go ahead and fold in half, and covered it with these scraps of fabric that I had left over from these hats. Now, I realized that during this process, I had initially planned to only just sew it up just the way it was pinned, just like how I planned it. But, of course, during the process, my brain was just on automatic mode and was just thinking, oh, sew up the end, you know, and just have a nice little seam to it. No need to leave extra fabric, which later on actually bit me in the ass because I was like, I needed that extra fabric to sew it on the other part of the cape. But no worries, like any other cosplayer, we find a way to fix our dumbass mistakes. Again, I would have made my life so much easier if I had just did the plan that was in my head initially. But instead, I'm stuffing this stupid thing into the sleeve. But at least it came out nice and neat. I'll give myself that. So now it's time to go ahead and connect the bottom piece to the collar, but first, using Destiny Intaya's cape tutorial on how she actually makes the Raven cape, I went ahead and actually created some hand stitches, I guess, in order to create the pleats. Is that what it's called? I think it's called pleats. To create the pleat effect, to make sure that the entire fabric does line up with the width of the collar. And you can actually check out her tutorial here to basically see what I'm talking about. So once you've done the whole cape, this is what it should look like. As you can see, I was tugging as I was stitching to go ahead and create the pleats. Pleats? Am I saying that right? I don't even know if I'm using the right term. But as Destiny recommends, she was using a hair thread, which is so much thicker, because this thin ass thread did break on me and I had to start all over, which probably is the reason why it took me an hour to do. Now, I went ahead and pinned the fabrics together. They should be matching and the correct length. I had to go ahead and sew this by hand because, again, I did not leave that extra fabric that I needed in order to sew it on by the machine. So I had to do it by hand. Good job, Shay. And finally, to finish off the cape, I went ahead and glued the safety pin on to the gem for the cape, and of course I did it for the little sleeve cups as well. I'll put an ass ton of hot glue because you know you gotta reinforce it. So yeah. And here's the final product. So abiding by Jessica Negri's 5-foot rule, it looks good from a distance, but I'm pretty sure if you get up close, you're just like, wow, wow. Oh, hello. Yes, well, that is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this second part of the journey, which should be the final part. So thank you so much for your support so far. And I hope you guys get inspired by this into making your own Halloween costumes for next year or whatever. And again, I'm not a professional. I did use a lot of reference, which will be linked in the description box so you can follow in what I did. Also the pieces that I bought on Amazon to create the look and all that stuff. So thank you so much for your support. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.